cheap because we want to make home affordable to every Gambian.
Visit Universal Properties today on FIB building along the Keraba Avenue. Universal Properties, the most experienced real estate company in the Gambia.
Welcome back, and over now to the international stories. It will undoubtedly be considered a breakthrough if everything works as planned. Ugandan engineering students and researchers have combined forces to establish a convergence that will enable people to test themselves on smartphones using a highly sophisticated hardware. The experiment is in its embryonic stages, even though researchers say all that it is required is to put one's index finger on the phone and wait for the answer. Well, we have details in this report by CFI.
And painless test for diagnosing malaria. It's an innovative technique proposed by Ugandan researchers. These science students at Makerere University collaborated with engineering students and developed a prototype that plugs into a smartphone and can detect malaria using only light. The principle is simple. The patient puts his index finger in an infrared sensor that detects the oxygen content in the blood through the skin. It's a reliable indicator of malaria infection. There is no need for needles or blood samples.
We are looking at designing a custom hardware that you can use at home. Just the hardware on its own. You don't need a smartphone. Like I may use a thermometer at home to test for your temperature. You can have this hardware or it's test for your malaria and to use it with your family. So generally in the long run, it is cheaper than any diagnostics that exist in, I think, in Africa.
The technique doesn't require a lab technician either. Malaria accounts for 15 to 20% of all hospitalizations in Africa, and if this Ugandan innovation works on a broader scale, it will mark significant progress in diagnosing this disease.
The fact that with a phone and just a probe you can be able to detect whether you have malaria is very innovative and has the potential to revolutionize how malaria is actually diagnosed in our country.
The technique is expected to be on the market in Uganda during the month of April. It will be available for about $150, including the smartphone.
Well, the embat told the South African athlete Oscar Pistorius broke down in the courtroom when graphic details of how his girlfriend was murdered were narrated by a prosecution witness. And the human rights violations in the Central African Republic is high on the United Nations agenda. The world body is sending a team to Bangui to find out what has happened to the thousands of people who have disappeared or killed in controversial circumstances. We have details of these and other stories in this news roundup.
Stated by the United Nations is expected to arrive in the Central African Republic on Tuesday. The news was announced by the Commission's President Bernard Achemuna of Cameroon. The goal is to investigate human rights violations in the country. The Commission will spend 2 days in Bangui before visiting the rest of the country for 2 weeks. A first report will be submitted to the Security Council in June. First in tears, then physically sick, South African athlete Oscar Pistorius broke down repeatedly on the 6th day of his murder trial, particularly during the reading of a graphic autopsy report of his slain girlfriend Riva Steenkamp's injuries. TV cameras were banned from the courtroom as the chief judge ruled there would be no live broadcast of the evidence. A security guard who testified in the hearing said he spoke with Pistorius after the shooting and that Pistorius responded, "Everything is fine." In the World Indoor Athletics Championships, Genzebe Dibaba of Ethiopia won women's 3,000-meter gold on Sunday in Sopot, Poland. The 23-year-old Dibaba, who has broken 3 world indoor records this season, completely dominated the race, finishing ahead of defending champion Helen Onsando Obiri of Kenya. Muriel Abure of Côte d'Ivoire lost the gold to 2-time Olympic champion Fraser Price of Jamaica. In men's events, Ethiopian Mohamed Aman defended his 800-meter title. He finished the race in 1 minute 46.40 seconds. African athletes won a total of 10 medals in the championships. 4 of them are gold.
where relatives of passengers on board a Malaysian airline that disappeared between Malaysia and Vietnam are preparing for the worst-case scenario. Barely 6 days to go before the referendum, thousands of Ukrainians have been holding spirited rallies in support of Russia's bid to sway the vote in Moscow's favor. And Brazil is warming up in calm anticipation for a keenly contested tournament. Let's look at this roundup for what else is making news around the world.
Referendum to determine if the southern Ukrainian region of Crimea wants to immediately become part of the Russian Federation. 10,000 people gathered Sunday in Donetsk, a city in the eastern Russian-speaking part of Ukraine, to show their support for the referendum, which has been denounced by the new pro-European authorities in Kiev. In another eastern city, Lugansk, pro-Russian demonstrators occupied the headquarters of the regional administration and demanded the governor resign. Malaysia expanded its search area for a missing jet after 3 days of scouring the seas failed to come up with any confirmed sightings of wreckage. A Malaysian Airlines flight with 239 people aboard lost contact with air controllers early Saturday over waters between Malaysia and Vietnam. No distress signal was ever sent. The plane's disappearance has led to an international search and rescue involving several countries. Authorities began an investigation into possible terrorism after 2 of the passengers were found to be traveling on stolen passports. Legislative elections in Colombia did not bring President Juan Manuel Santos clear support in peace talks that he began with the FARC 16 months ago. In the Senate, the center-right coalition government maintains a slight majority, but it will have to contend with a strong showing by a group led by former President Uribe, who is totally against the peace process. The presidential majority did win a clear victory in the House of Representatives. Amazonia Stadium was inaugurated on Sunday in Brazil. It's located in the heart of the Amazon jungle in the region of Manaus. It's the 8th stadium completed out of 12 being built for Brazil to host the Football World Cup in June. 3 workers died building the stadium, which has a capacity of 44,000. 4 stadiums have not been finished yet, including one in São Paulo, where the first match was scheduled to be played.
Well, we now take our second break. Sports is next.
Wireless internet. With QCell's 4G, you can access the internet at unbeatable speeds on your laptop or desktop computer. You can also use your mobile or tablet to browse the internet via Wi-Fi. QCell's 4G internet can keep you connected either in your home or in your office. For a limited time, get 50% off regular equipment and 100% off corporate equipment, as well as free installation and free QCell credit. For more information, call 333-3253 or 333-3104. QCell 4G Internet. Fast, affordable and reliable. QCell. Sunibus. The Gambia's quality network.
Welcome back. The Sports for Health, organized by the Ministry of Youth and Sport in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, has ended after 3 days of exercises in series of sports activities and free blood testing of sugar and hypertension. The event, as Rohibite reports, did engage the senior government officials as well as the public and private sector in the country.
Sport is very significant in the lives of people, especially for adults. It keeps one fit and healthy, allowing vital organs such as lungs and heart to work longer, which, according to experts, decrease chances of heart diseases as well as bond fat and sugar in the body, preventing one from attracting non-communicable diseases. Even more surprising, participating in mass sporting events like these provide participants the chance to renew friendship, as in this case.
There are many things that we gain. One, you have seen the medical team on ambulance. They are checking people's pressure and sugar. If you come, you will know your health status. Even when you only come to check your health status and go home, that's a great thing. Much more, coming to be active in sports and regain your newness in physics is another thing. The third thing is, as I said before, there are friends that I missed for the past 2-3 years, and we are all in this small country. But because of our engagement, I couldn't see many of them for a longer time. So today, yesterday, and day before, I am seeing them